Here's a live look at Herman Square, where tonight hundreds are expected to come out and celebrate during the Pride Parade. And we talked to Texans who traveled to the Capitol to celebrate the Supreme Court's monumental ruling to legalize same-sex marriage. 2 men are in custody this morning who are suspected in a supermarket robbery that led to a SWAT standoff.
Live from KPRC, this is Channel 2 News Today.
Good morning, I'm Emani Payne. Thanks for joining me. Yesterday's Supreme Court decision has sparked celebrations around the nation, and the festivities continue today right here in Houston. Channel 2's Gianna Caserta is live at Herman Square, where hundreds are expected to show up tonight for the Pride Festival and Parade. Gianna? A historic ruling from the Supreme Court yesterday that same-sex marriage is now the law of the land. This is arguably one of the biggest decisions handed down by the courts in decades. Channel 2's Jace Larson spoke with Texans who traveled to the Capitol to celebrate the monumental ruling.
In the crowd cheering after the 5-4 decision, Texans, including Houstonian John Cuenca.
It means a lot. It means it's a validation of our lives and not just what other people call our lifestyles. And I think that makes a huge difference, especially coming from Texas.
Those celebrating showed their happiness as many.
A week after the deadly attack on a Charleston church, community members and politicians paused to remember the church's pastor. The pastor was one of 9 people killed during a Bible study at Emmanuel AME Church. Yesterday, more than 5,000 people gathered to honor the pastor's life. President Obama delivered the eulogy.
Whatever solutions we find will necessarily be incomplete. But it would be a betrayal of everything Reverend Pinckney stood for, I believe, if we allowed ourselves to slip into a comfortable silence again. You're right.
After the service, the pastor was laid to rest next to family members. Now to a developing story out of New York, where one of the prisoners who escaped in New York has been shot dead. According to an NBC News source, Richard Matt was shot and killed by police. Matt was one of the murderers who escaped from a New York prison earlier this month. A manhunt is still underway for the other escapee, David Sweat. More than 1,100 law enforcement officials are on the search. 2 prison employees are charged in connection with the jailbreak. And new this morning, Houston firefighters battle flames at an art gallery that caught fire early this morning. Fire crews responded to the building on Summer Street in Sayre around 3:30 a.m. They found one of the art displays burning at the front of the building. Firefighters made a fast attack and were able to quickly put it out, but spent some time trying to blow heavy clouds of smoke from the building. 4 employees were inside at the time, but made it out safe. 2 men are in custody this morning, suspected in a supermarket robbery that led to a SWAT standoff. Sky 2 was over a home on Boynham yesterday. Police say the pair robbed the supermarket around 4 p.m. and then broke into a nearby home. One of the men came out and quickly surrendered to police, but SWAT units had to be called when the second man barricaded himself inside. He eventually surrendered and was arrested. Coming up, professional volleyball player Gabrielle Reese sits down with Lauren Freeman to discuss her latest fitness program. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The future has finally made it to the present, as in those cool hoverboards from the second Back to the Future movie. Check out this teaser from Toyota. Its Lexus division collaborated to make a hoverboard. The board uses a combination of magnetic levitation, nitrogen, superconductors, and magnets to work. But Lexus says there are no current plans to make or market the hoverboard. The hoverboard teaser is a part of a series of futuristic Lexus ad campaigns. And this week on Houston Newsmakers with Cambrel Marshall, in the wake of the Supreme Court decision on Obamacare, why Republicans still say no to Medicaid expansion.
The reason they push back is really because of money. Medicaid is often the largest single item on a state budget because Medicaid, unlike Medicare, is not fully funded by the federal government. It's partially funded by the state.
Why that non-expansion of Medicaid is costly to all Texans on Houston Newsmakers Sunday morning at 10. Coming up, after the Supreme Court ruled same-sex marriage legal, local pastors are outraged at the decision. And next, it's all caught on camera. The FBI is looking for this man who they say may be connected to 2 recent bank robberies.
You're watching Channel 2, Houston's home for news.
Welcome back. The Supreme Court decision to legalize same-sex marriage in all 50 states has sparked celebrations across the nation, including right here in Houston. Channel 2's Gianna Caserta is live at Herman Square, where hundreds are expected to show up today for the Pride Festival and Parade. Gianna? Following the historic ruling on same-sex marriage, many applauded the Supreme Court's decision. However, some are now calling for a guarantee that the new law won't impede on any religious beliefs. Channel 2's Robert Arnold takes a look at the strong opposition from some religious leaders and politicians.
It's clear in sacred scripture that the intentionality of marriage is it's a man and a woman.
It's a fundamental bedrock principle that marriage is between one man and one woman.
A shared argument against same-sex marriage, one political, one ecclesiastical. Monsignor Frank Rossi with the Catholic Diocese of Galveston-Houston says Scripture prevents the church from recognizing gay marriage.
But we see
dissenting justices wrote they worry these concerns will eventually make it before the Supreme Court. However, Justice Anthony Kennedy spoke for the majority, writing that he believes the First Amendment provides adequate protection in these cases. Here in Houston, some pastors have voiced outrage at the same-sex marriage ruling and have vowed to continue their fight against the decision.
I can assure you that today the alarm has sounded and the giant has been awakened. The church will rise up and the voice will be heard. And yes, the division will be felt. But when this is done, truth will still be standing. And this lie of the Supreme Court.
The pastors added the ruling was based on emotions, not the law. Our coverage of this historic ruling extends to our website, clicktohouston.com. We have a special coverage box at the top of our homepage. A week after the deadly attack on a Charleston church, community members and politicians paused to remember the church's pastor. The pastor was one of 9 people killed during a Bible study at Emmanuel AME Church. Yesterday, more than 5,000 people gathered to honor the pastor's life. President Obama delivered the eulogy.
Whatever solutions we find will necessarily be incomplete. But it would be a betrayal of everything Reverend Pinckney stood for, I believe, if we allowed ourselves to slip into a comfortable silence again. You're right.
After the service, the pastor was laid to rest next to family members. New this morning, a charred frame is all that remains of a mobile home that caught fire overnight. Channelview firefighters responded to the scene on Avenue D and Avenue C around midnight and found the mobile home in flames. The fire was so intense it consumed 2 cars in the driveway as well. Fire officials say the man who lives there was not home at the time. Harris County Fire Marshal is now investigating what sparked the fire. Also new this morning, the FBI has released new surveillance video to help track down a man wanted in connection to 2 recent bank robberies in Pearland. Take a close look at this video. Investigators say this man threatened a teller with a gun and robbed the bank on the 11,000 block of Broadway back on the morning of May 19th. He is also suspected in a similar robbery that took place at the nearby Frost Bank back on December 16th of last year. No one was hurt in either robbery. A man is behind bars accused of trying to smuggle cocaine on an international flight. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers found more than 4 pounds of cocaine stuffed in the lining of the briefcase of a traveler at Bush Intercontinental Airport. 64-year-old Stefan Salzillo was headed from Trinidad at the time he was arrested and now faces drug trafficking charges. Baytown police are asking for your help tracking down 2 burglars who broke into a water park. This is one of the men who investigators say forced their way inside a building at Pirates Bay Water Park, where they stole cash and property. And here is an image of the other thief caught on surveillance cameras. The writing on his sweatshirt says Community Partners Early Childhood Development Center, and carried a gym bag with a red Texas Tech College logo. Northwest Houston residents can rest assured coming up 2 men suspected of being involved in a string of robberies of pizza delivery drivers have been caught. Plus, right before a holiday known to grill hot dogs and burgers, a recall you need to know about. Welcome back. Not something you want to hear as we get closer to the 4th of July. H-E-B has issued a recall for hot dog and hamburger buns. Consumer expert Amy Davis has the latest.
Before the July 4th weekend, you'll find a lot of families grilling out. Well, H-E-B wants you to take a close look at the buns on your counter first. Some are under a voluntary recall.
The recall affects H-E-B and Hill Country Farms hamburger and
2 arrests have been made in a crime spree in northwest Harris County, a string of pizza delivery robberies. 17-year-old Daryl Taylor and 18-year-old Jonelle Smith are in custody. They are accused of calling pizza places, placing fake orders, and then ambushing the delivery driver with guns, stealing all of their money. Investigators say it happened in Glenlock Farms area, Winrose, Tomball, also in the Spring area. There may be a lot of traffic downtown this weekend, especially with Houston's Pride Festival and Parade moving downtown for the first time. Several streets will be closed, not to mention construction in other parts of the city. Channel 2's Courtney Gilmore has the weekend traffic alerts.
Oh yes, it's the weekend, so a couple of hot spots you need to look out for. We're going to start with some construction on 45, the North Freeway northbound lanes. About 3 lanes will be blocked from Little York to westbound Houston. Now I got to tell you, they may extend the construction to Aldine Bender.
Well, he's a familiar face you'll recognize from the NFL gridiron. Coming up, former Houston Texan Chester Pitts tells us about his upcoming bowling tournament fundraiser.